Hello everyone. Okay, it's gonna be a video about the latest AI content creation tools. As you might notice, developed quite a bit, and we have now ready to go boilerplate generators, if you like, right? Most of that stuff just works with an IDE, in the web or a subscription or as IDE plugin for VS Code. Right, so now let's check Bolt new. There's also Cursor, which is a variant of VS Code. So yeah, it's basically VS Code with some extensions, proprietary, and you have to pay for it. It seems to be okay somehow, but still I found this way of interacting with the code or changing the code a little bit cumbersome, let's say, right? Then there is a Rebel-it. It does it in the browser as well, like bolt.new. But also there, people complain about the prices. It's sometimes getting slow and you're running out of credits. Okay, let's just give an idea. So we want to have a TypeScript client application to list all files in the current directory. And we have preferences like using tslog for logging and sort for validation. So let's see what it does. I must say it's relatively fast. It still refers to outdated dependencies, so the code usually doesn't really work right away. So you need to know a bit more about this. And voila. As you can see here already, we have already trouble installing the dependencies. Now what it offers is to export this whole thing a zip, I guess, right? Right. So I built a new tool which basically gets around all this pain. You can use it yourself. You still need an API key from Openrouter or let's say OpenAI, either way. I can recommend Openrouter because you have access to a lot more models. Just to give you an idea, let me show you that Openrouter AI. So we have a lot more models, so you don't need to deal in fact with all these different let's say API specifications. You can choose them by category, by price, I think, and by features like image processing and all that, right? Okay, right. So we have a new tool called OSR-CODE-BOT, which basically works in any folder. You can select the files you would like through glob, right? And you can choose between different templates. For now I have just a few, namely TypeScript with its own specifics and rules we have, like policies, preferred logging package, so libraries and all that, right? You can already use that. It's here, Plastica, CodeBot. Documentation is a bit silly, but there are some examples. So you have to create a config file with your API keys from OpenAI or Openrouter, right? Some examples like this. All the stuff I show you now. Okay. So just for the warm up, we are in tests TypeScript. Okay. I'm in exactly that folder, so I use the tool now that way. I say modify that folder where we are right now. I still choose template TypeScript, and I gave it some tools like writing files to disk, commit files to GitHub, or install dependencies through Node.js packet manager. Now, and also a tool to interact with the user, right? So here the query is basically use the interact tool, right, to ask the user questions to figure out the person's mental health state, just to get an idea, right? Ask at least 2 questions, but not direct. Store the result in preferences and probability. Merge means basically when I ask this again, it will keep adding the results. And I also would like to have the reasons why it's for a large language model study, let's say. And I can disable some tools where I know some tools are not really working yet perfectly, buggy. So let's show that. Now I can see the installed tools that comes from a template for TypeScript. Don't worry about this. Okay, so here we go. Let me ask a couple of indirect questions that I can help gauge well-being. How would you describe your energy levels throughout a typical day? All day high. It's not really true. In the past week, how satisfied have you been with your daily accomplishment? Never. Okay, 2 questions. Now it should call the tool to write stuff back on disk. You can also see that. Let me create a JSON file, blah blah blah. So what you get now is basically the file I'm asked for, right? Potential anxiety, possible mania, life satisfaction. Okay. So we got also some reasons. We got okay, never happy. Okay, study context, blah blah blah. Okay, that's nice. So okay, so now we have already basically a little app, questionnaire app, right? What it does on top is basically writing a lot of meta files, the history. So everything I've communicated with the Openrouter, the tools I used, is going into kind of log file, right? Also the message from the tool communication is being traced, and a bit more readable log. Let me show you that. Okay, so here gives basically a human readable explanation what it did, and stuff like that. So that goes all into a folder CODE-BOT, CODE-BOT if you like, right? So now I would like to have that a bit different to the person's mental health state. Could ask possibly more. Preference for religion. Ask at least 2 questions, but not direct. Okay, so I could store this now as script, right? So I would like to have that stored somehow as a script. That would be something like that. Test religion. Oops, sorry. So I can just call the script and it will do basically the same thing and keeps adding basically to the file I specified. So when making important life decisions, what factors do you typically consider the most? Family, personal beliefs, practical consequences, traditional values, etc. No, naturally. How do you prefer to spend the day, your Sunday mornings? In bed. My wife. What? And cats. What facing challenges in blah 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 blah. Yeah, hanging around. Alright, so it does the analysis now. Since it's going over Openrouter, there's some latency in here because it just acts as a proxy. So okay, so we should see now something else in preferences. I'd overrode this. Okay, that's possible. I didn't add it into the club, otherwise it would probably it actually just extends this file. Now we have the whole thing as a text, so I can recall the whole thing. Okay, so that's a very simple thing, right? Now let's say we would like to have something a bit more challenging. So I would like to have a TypeScript application using specific tools. I basically specified that in a template, right? So hang on. So here we have a package dedicated just for TypeScript. It has its own structure for now. And in fact, all markdown files are basically giving some insights how we would like to have the code written or the documentation written and all that, what to avoid, what to use, what not to use, and blah blah blah. And it also has its own specific tools. I have a dummy tool in here doing nothing, but yeah, so I said we can have tools, allowing the AI to write stuff to the hard disk, let's say, right, or commit stuff to GitHub. And there might be other tools like search the web for the latest whatever, cheap flight. So it could augment that as well. All right. So now we would like to have something, a bit more complex. So we would like to have a TypeScript application. I don't want to specify the whole thing anymore down here in the terminal. So what I'm gonna do is select basically the query or the instructions for the AI. I will pick that from a file instead, like that, and we don't create a stump. We could, right? Right. So now what we're gonna do, that's a task now to do, add a command to list files in a given directory. Okay, that's fine. Oops. Okay, so after that, please mark these tasks, right, as completed by tick, or designated by tick boxes in. Let me fix that too. Sorry about this. So now we could run it just like that. Voilà. So that's really basic stuff, but I'm already super happy. I can walk into any project, any kind of project, from websites, blogs, or whatsoever, and execute basically the AI with tools. It modifies the files, submits it to Git, right? What you can see here, for instance, it's also installing the dependencies. I gave it a tool which deals with package and installs these. So what you're going to see here now, TypeScript, we have a complete TypeScript project. Voila. We don't have package dependencies in here at the moment yet, but we have a source file, list files. Okay, fine. The dependencies are not installed yet. Okay. Now let's go back to our query. As you see, it overrode that whole thing, so I go into this one. Sometimes myself. Now, so use tslog. That's a library for logging and sort for validation. Okay. Now, to give you an idea how this works, the template selects basically already the TypeScript files, right? So I didn't know about this file because it's outside of the standard templates defaults, let's say, right? So I'm gonna make this explicit. So club, we would like to grab everything in source. We would like to have the package JSON, so it knows that up front. We also give it the query, so it doesn't overwrite that brutally as it just did. We would like also to have the README file up front, so it knows what's inside and modifies that instead of brutally overwriting it. I hope it makes sense. Okay, so okay, so let's run that. So it should pick up now exactly this last task. Voila. Okay, so I like how it's basically saying what it's doing. So let's install the required dependencies. We can see it's installing tslog and sort. We should see that now also in package JSON. Here we go. I'll leave it here to the side. Okay. You can see here also the calls of tools, tool, create file, writing, blah 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 blah. So as you can see, it added the check mark over there. Okay, so we're good. Now we can keep adding just until it breaks again, right? Oops. Now I said we have a tool to submit stuff to GitHub. It wants to know a few more things about this, like the username and all that. So what we're gonna do is create repo using Git tools. I'll submit our files. What's next? We would like to have ask the user for his preferred test framework. Apply it and create test units for our commands in source. Right, ready to go. Voila, so it took the Git repository. Yes, it has a tool, commit files, init repository, fine. It already did that. Now let's ask the user about blah blah blah. We would like to use vtest, which I can recommend over Jest because of TypeScript. Yeah, let's say mess, right? Voila. So we got vtest. It should extend actually also our starts or our scripts in here for the test commands. Alright. There we go. So the test stuff sometimes doesn't work right out of the box, but it's already well prepared. So all tasks have been completed. We have a test unit in here. Commands, tests, that looks clean to me. Okay. And we're good. So let's have a look at the log. It's a bit more pretty. Right. So we are these lines which separate all the sessions. We have the tool call. Right. So you have a pretty comprehensive explanation what it did. So you can rewind if you want. It's possible too. Okay, so that was easy. Now I think this should demonstrate enough now this whole story about using AI tools. Okay. Now one last thing we're gonna do is add in-depth documentation. Oops. Work commands, dependencies, API usage in README, and it can handle only, let's say, small tasks once at a time, so that's why I prefer to have it like that. So CODE-BOT, there's no README yet. Yeah, okay, here we have a bug. Sometimes it fails. get malformed JSON back, so I'm gonna have to repeat that. Oops. Okay. I actually did something. Okay. I think that's not the file I wanted. Wait. So here we get a complete documentation with example usage, the dependencies, prerequisites, the setup, building, blah blah blah, and we get also our commands explained. All right. So now you can see it can handle basically code and also, let's say, non-code documentation like that. It can combine all that. You get a party documentation. You can use it in every folder and every tag you want. It's not officially really released yet. I'm still adding a few tools like searching the web through, let's say, headless Chromium, right? So it can look at screenshots, analyze that, and sign up. Yeah, if you want, on social media platforms and start spamming the whole community, no problem. Okay, cheers.